Hello friends and welcome back. First of all, let me acknowledge the start of the school year. For those who were at Brother and Woods last Sunday, we had Promotion Sunday. We had a special time of blessing and a prayer for people who are going into the new school year. So I know some of you guys already started this week. I hope your first week of school went well. And then there's some of you who will not start until Tuesday. And last week I kind of talked a little bit about how you may be feeling at the start of a new school year, right? There's a lot of feelings that come with that. Sometimes a little bit nervous, anxious, maybe even scared for those who are starting school. But then there also might be feelings of excitement, anticipation, because you guys get to see your friends again. And with how crazy last school year was, a lot of us are looking forward to being in person again. And with that being said, we're gonna look at our verse and see how our verse and our lesson twines into the new school year. So our verse today comes from Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. So today we're going to be talking about trusting God. What does it mean to trust God? So first week of school, right? I hope all of you guys had a really good first week, but sometimes that first week of school can be really hard. Like I also said last week, I am not somebody who likes change. So sometimes the first week of school for me was always really, really tough getting used to the new teachers, the new classrooms, new faces in my classes. But God commands us to be strong and courageous, to not be afraid and not to be discouraged. So if your first week of school wasn't everything that you thought it was going to be, don't be discouraged. You have many more weeks ahead. So let's talk about this whole thing of trust. What kind of things can you guys think of that you trust every day without even thinking about it? Go ahead and take a minute, think of some things, and then we'll look at some pictures and talk about them. So I have some pictures up here of things that we just trust without even thinking about it. You might not even think that it's trusting. You kind of just expect it, right? So we have a picture of a bunch of cars. How many of us trust that our parents' cars are going to take us to school every day without having any problems, without breaking down on the side of the road, getting a flat tire? I mean, I know I trust my car whenever I go to work to not have any problems, right? We just trust that it's going to work. What about the school bus? We trust our school bus drivers to get us to school on time and to school safely, right? We trust them to pick everybody up from all the different bus stops, to pick up our friends, and then also to deliver us back at the end of the day at home. We trust that we have things that we need, like food and clothing, right? I mean, unless you guys do your laundry, which some of you may do already, but we trust that our parents are going to have clean clothes for us in the morning to wear to school, to wear to bed, to wear to church, right? And we also trust that somebody is going to have food on the table when it comes to dinner and breakfast. We trust the schools to provide lunch for us so that we can have 3 meals a day, right? Okay, maybe this one might be a little bit of a stretch. But what about weathermen? How many of you guys trust the weathermen or just the weather in general? Sometimes that might be a little iffy. But if we're looking forward to something, to an event during the weekend, we really want to trust that when it says that it's going to be 85 degrees and sunny with no rain, we want to trust that it's going to be sunny with no rain, right? So these are just some examples of things that we trust every day in our life without even thinking about it, because it's an expectation of us to have food, to have clothing, to have transportation, to hopefully know what the weather is going to be for the day and not have to rearrange our schedules around it if you guys do sports and whatnot, right? So in what other ways can we see as God trusting, right? We all go through our ups and downs, but we need to trust that God is always going to be with us. And that can be really hard, right? It can be hard because we can't see him. We don't always hear him. So it can be hard to know that he is always there with us, but he is. I know that when I'm in a really hard time in life, it can be really hard to believe that God's with me, right? I may say, God, why aren't you fixing this? Why isn't this getting better? You know, why can't you just come in and just make everything the way it was before? I'm sure you guys have asked that question as well. but he is. He just might be working in ways that we don't even imagine. So to kind of demonstrate this whole idea in trusting God, I have two little interaction project things that we're going to be doing today. I'm like losing my words right now. Examples of what it means to trust God. And as you guys know from previous lessons, my object lessons don't always go as planned. So we're going to see how it goes today. So let's cross our fingers, and I don't know if there's any trust that can be put into this, but maybe. Okay. So the first one is I have a glass jar. You guys can also do this along with me or at home. They're pretty easy, and you guys should have all the supplies. But cup, glass, jar, whatever you want. I just fill it up with a little bit of water because if I'm honest, I don't exactly trust myself doing this object lesson. I did practice it though, so hopefully this will work. So we represent kind of life is the jar. We are the water in the bottom of this jar. It might be hard to see, but there's a little bit of water in there, right? And so what happens when our world turns upside down, right? If we would turn this whole thing upside down, what would happen? All the water would fall out, right? And that's how it can feel when things aren't going so well. But what happens when we have God in our life, when we invite him into our life, invite him into our hearts, and those big scary moments where the world just feels like it's collapsing, like we're doing a 180, what happens when we have God by our side? Let's see what happens. Let's take a little step over here, not to hit anything. Okay. Oh, what happened? Nothing happened. So the glass turned upside down and no water fell out, right? So that's what happens when God is with us, when we invite him into our life. When our world does a complete 180, he keeps us in complete contact, right? Okay, let's do our other one. Let's see if this one works. So far, we're 1 for 2. Let's see if we can go for 2 for 2. So for this one, I have a plastic baggie and some water and some fairly decent sharp pencils. This one I did not practice, so we'll see how it gets. So again, life is kind of the baggie, we are the water, right? And the pencils represent things that, try to hurt us, or things in life that kind of like impel us, right? They kind of just go like right through us. So what happens when that happens in life? Might be hard to see, but there's no water leaking out. You might see water dripping, but that's just from the outside of the baggie. But yeah, so when things happen and we have God in our life, when those things go straight through us, when they just go, God does not let anything fall out. He holds us together. So let's see if we can do some more pencils here. Say, maybe somebody loses a job. We have to change schools. That can be something that's life-changing. Oh, some water's falling out. So maybe this didn't work as well. But at least the water's not coming out of the holes, right? Let's try one more. Might be personal luck with number 3. So we have all these different things that are kind of going through our life, and yet we're still intact. There's not a lot of water that's dripping down. So that's what God does for us when we invite him into our lives, when we decide to trust him, even with the really small things like getting a new teacher in school, making friends, taking tests. But he's also with us in the really, really big things like moving, changing from elementary school to middle school to high school, right? He's with us no matter what. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.